We're live,
Broadcast
Cassandra.
live. Okay.
Monday. Home buying Monday. Who are you, Cassandra? Introduce yourself.
My name's Cassandra Krupicka, and I'm a realtor with
Say
EXP.
your last name really slow.
Krupicka.
Okay. Krupicka.
Krupicka. It's Czech.
Did Benton get picked on a lot growing up as a kid with the Krupicka?
So
Does he have any stories?
Krupicka a lot.
Okay.
So it's him and his mom that go with the original like Czech. So I don't think he did that as a kid. I think it was Krupicka, and it wasn't until he was an adult that he went with the Krupicka.
Krupicka. I like it.
I like it better. It sounds fancy.
It sounds very fancy. I mean, like you're one of my classy friends. So
yeah. My name says it anyway.
And then tell us about your passion for real estate, why you love it.
So my passion of real estate came with buying our house. You know, we were first-time home buyers, and it was such a crazy process. I was really intimidated. I think that's probably what took us so long to buy a house, was because we thought it was just going to be so impossible. And we worked with you to get our house. So
and during COVID, okay.
Right when COVID hit.
I think, if anybody was stressed out during that time frame, I was too, because they would you'd get an email, Cassandra, it'd be like, oh, we're changing this FHA guideline today. It doesn't matter if you had somebody pre-approved. You're like, oh, good.
Yeah, it was very nerve-wracking. So I just kind of felt like we got through that and you pushed for us. So I was like, it was just so awesome to see how you could use your knowledge and your tools and make something happen for someone. So I really loved the process, and getting into our house and working on it and building equity was just an amazing concept. And I just want to help other people do it. So wasn't that long ago, 2 years ago, we bought our house. So it's very fresh in my mind. And I know people are nervous about it, and I want to be able to make that easier for them.
Yeah, I want to get a t-shirt and a billboard that says you do not need 20% down to buy a house.
I know.
Just plaster that on the side of my car. So I'm actually
I know I've had that discussion with people, and they're just like, well, I don't want to pay the extra, mortgage insurance, but it's like, well, but you're renting and you're paying someone else.
Yep.
Today.
I really feel bad. I just pre-approved a borrower last week that could have easily been pre-approved 2 years ago when rates are in the twos. And he really just thought that he had to have 20% down, and he's been saving like crazy, which is awesome. But he doesn't. He's like, and I said, well, the rates are in the fours now, and I'm sorry, there's nothing I can do about it. But I did say that, maybe in a couple of years they'll go down again. Who knows? Nobody ever would have thought, Cassandra, that they would have went into the twos. The only reason they went into the twos was because of COVID. I mean, you know what? I mean, COVID was horrible for everybody, but it was good for interest rates, if that makes sense. I don't know if that's a good thing or not, but the federal government was scared, and they were concerned, and they wanted to keep the economy moving, so they made it easier to borrow money, and that really fired Cassandra. It fired up everybody that, wow, I really can buy a house, and that's what's caused our inventory shortage right now. That there's a lot of people out there looking. I was looking at, every Monday, we have a team meeting. We have 117 currently people pre-approved looking for homes. And, we're sending borrowers through underwriting now to get them fully approved. So when you write an offer, Cassandra, with one of our clients, all you're asking for is title and for an appraisal. That's helping a little bit, but it's a very, very competitive market. What are you hearing right now from your clients that you really want to get out the message to everybody watching this tonight?
I mean, the biggest thing is just, being resilient and just keep putting in those offers, and don't feel like, putting in an offer is this huge, gruesome process for us as realtors, because it's not. Once we go through that first one with you, if for some reason it doesn't get approved, we just write them faster, and we get more, creative about what those offers are going to look like. But the biggest thing for a realtor is our job is to get to know the seller. We try to get as much information we can so we can motivate them to pick you. And then you can choose your offer terms based off of what they want, whether it's cash, whether it's a fast closing, whether maybe they want to rent the place for a little while because they're not ready to move, in 30 days. Yep. So it's really getting creative with the offers that I'm finding works really well. And not just, blindly writing an offer. You need to know who's on the other end receiving the offer and really talk to them. So that makes a big difference. And some people are scared. They think it's going to be $20,000 over what asking price is, but that's not the case everywhere. And it's really more often not the case. It's about timing. It's about being on top of it. If you see a property, go and see it. Be ready. Make sure you have your pre-approval letter. And, working with someone like you, making sure that you have it pretty much all the way through underwriting. So you don't have any last minute scares where a deal might fall through or a seller's like, oh, I don't want to work with you anymore. This is taking too long. So just getting all that cleaned up really helps a lot too.
I know the one thing I want to stress, like when we do these live videos like this, Cassandra, is the pre-approval. Don't wait until you find the perfect house to get pre-approved, because we're fast and we can typically get a good pre-approval done in 24 hours. That means we reviewed your W-2s, your bank statements, your pay stubs, and we can, have an underwriter look at it or send it through our automated underwriting process. But even at 24 hours, I mean, I had a gal call me this morning that says, oh, and we pre-approved her 2 years ago. And, so it should be an easy update, but we have to get a new credit report. We have to get new pay stubs, all the different things like that. She wants to look at a place tomorrow, and I know they're looking at offers tomorrow night at 5 o'clock. So we're going to do our best to get that done for her. And we can go as fast as the client can move for us. But a pre-approval is good for 120 days, people. Okay.
Yeah.
Worst case scenario.
That's the most I've heard.
Right. Worst case scenario, then your pre-approval expires. All we have to do is we get your permission to pull a new credit report. You have to answer a couple of security questions like your mother's maiden name. We have to, so it's hard, but then we're going to make sure you still have you have a job. You still have, we're going to take a look at your credit, make sure the debt to income ratio is still in line, different things like that. But it's literally maybe 30 minutes tops of answering some emails or talking on the phone just to update your pre-approval. So it's not the end of the world if your pre-approval expires. So
yeah, which I mean, I'm going to stress that's what's the benefit of working with you. You guys move really fast and you get it through that process, because sometimes you're working with other banks and you're just talking to the one person who leaves early for the day or, is only works till 5 p.m. So that can make it harder, when you're trying to push through a pre-approval. But yeah, you need that pre-approval. Otherwise, I mean, people aren't going to even look at your offer or take it seriously if you don't have proof of funds or a pre-approval on top of it.
Yeah. The one thing I'm proud of, I mean, the fact that we can do all the loan programs at USA Mortgage, we can do FHA. We have a 580 minimum credit score. We can do conventional loans for first-time home buyers with 3% down. We can do the WIDA loan programs, which are the zero down programs in Wisconsin. USGA, we can help veterans with VA loans. We have all of the different programs out there. So, and it, and if Cassandra, if you send me somebody and I can't help them for some reason, I'm going to find them somebody who can help them. Or if they're just if they're in a really, really tough spot because of credit score or something like that, I will coach them on what they need to do to be able to buy a house in 6 months or a year. It all just depends upon their circumstances, Cassandra.
Yeah. So. Yeah, exactly.
The one thing I get all the time is, a buyer's agent is going to cost me money. I can't afford to pay for an agent. Can you explain that process as a real estate agent on how that works and how your representation works as a buyer's agent?
Yes. So buyer's agent, we're paid actually from the seller. So when they sign a listing contract with their agent, they break down the commission with their agent then. So in the listing contract, it will say we are going to pay, the listing agent X amount of money, and then we're going to pay the selling agent X amount of money. A selling agent is the person who pretty much finds the buyer. So your listing agent could also be the selling agent. A buyer's agent who represents a buyer could also be a selling agent. So it's whoever is finding the buyer, and they are paid under the terms in the listing contract. So the seller is responsible for commission. So they'll pay their listing agency, and then they're also going to pay the seller agency, whether it's the same or a different agency. But it costs the buyers nothing to work with a realtor.
Correct. Good. I really want people to understand that. Just like I want people to know you don't need 20% down to buy a house. That's like the one big thing. That's number one thing I hear all the time. Okay. Tell me why somebody should go with a realtor to sell their property instead of doing for sale by owner.
Well, that's a big thing. So as a realtor, we are going to make sure that you're protected. You're not going to have a buyer coming later and telling you that you didn't disclose something. So we'll make sure to go through all of the disclosures with you, make sure everything is disclosed to all the parties included. We're also going to market your property in all the ways that we know need to be marketed. So,
Yep.
just having it on marketplace or having it on a for sale by owner site isn't enough exposure. People are all over the MLS, especially right now, because properties are so hard to find and get to. The inventory is low. So the MLS is being searched constantly. And that's where people are looking. Maybe
Yep.
they get creative and they start looking around, but their first go to is that MLS. And you can use that MLS for so much leverage. We also, monitor all of your showings. So you don't have to worry about whether or not you're going to be able to be home. You don't have to worry about, saying the right thing to anyone. We take care of that for you. So we open your door, we make sure it's treated with respect. We funnel all the calls for you. So if anyone has any follow-up questions or anything like that, we take care of it. So you really just can sit back, let us do everything for you, and we'll sell your house, and
Yeah.
it's fast. And the fact that it's, a seller's market right now shows that if you can get it on the MLS and you have an agent doing it for you, it's going to be seen within minutes, and it's going to have offers within, hours to days. And if you're doing for sale by owner, you really miss that window. And so once it's sitting on the market for a little while, you kind of lose your leverage with your price point.
Yeah, I think everybody thinks because they stick a sign in the yard that
Yeah.
those 10,000 people that are searching the MLS in Wisconsin or Minnesota or whatever, wherever we are at that particular day, they think those 10,000 people are going to drive by your house. It's just not the case. And as a seller, you want as much interest in your house as you can. I mean, it's a double-edged sword between a seller and a buyer, but in a market like this, I mean, it is honestly highest price, the best offer is going to take it and win. And I just feel like people, yeah, there are real estate commissions, but nobody works for free. I don't work for free. You don't work for free. I mean, the people watching this video, if you have a job, you don't work for free. And I think before I got into mortgage, I thought real estate agents, whatever, all you guys do is show houses and that's it. But now I see the amount of work and the negotiations and the back and the forth and the phone calls at 10 o'clock at night. It's like, wow, I had no idea. And then, the insurance and the coverage, but really the biggest thing is negotiations. Nobody wants to
say the negotiation is something I didn't bring up yet, but it's huge. I mean, you're going to get, let's say you get 5 offers in, a lot of them could be very, very similar. And without knowing exactly how each one's going to affect you, you may not choose the best one for you. So it's very helpful to have an agent negotiating for you. You know what you can do back and forth.
Well, and honestly, Cassandra, most people don't. It's not. What's nice about having an agent is you tell your agent, like, well, here's our counter, here's my offer. You're not calling the seller. No, 99% of the world doesn't even like any of that stuff, right?
Yeah.
We just want to know a price and we just want to buy it, right? But yeah, there's always that 1% that really wants to hammer you. But most people are human beings and they don't want to be like, So what a buyer's agent does for you, they communicate with the listing agent for you. So the listing agent represents the seller. The buyer's agent represents you, the buyer, in this particular situation. And then the two real estate agents talk to each other about that. And they're going to go back and forth. And a lot of times they're going to have that relationship, or they're going to have maybe have heard of Cassandra. Like, so when Cassandra comes in with a good offer letter, with a good pre-approval letter, that's where they go to bat for you, because Cassandra doesn't get paid unless you get an accepted offer and we close. I don't get paid unless we close. So it's not like we're sitting there just, making $50 an hour, dilly-dallying around, driving you around town. It's not the case at all. We're in this for the long haul. And I really, I always like to stress that, Cassandra, when I do live videos like this.
Yes, exactly.
What are you hearing? Like, what are you hearing? Like, how long is this inventory thing going to last? What are you hearing with rates? Like, what's the clutter? What's the chatter in the real estate community?
So, mortgage rates, I do hear, are going up. I mean, they just did. They're up in the 4s.
Yep.
People thought maybe they would slow down, but I do think that they're going to go up. So might slow down some of the home buying process.
Yep.
Which, might help some of these buyers who've been looking for months on end, that interest rate isn't slowing them down. I think it will help people a little bit have maybe less competition, but the inventory is still going to be pretty low. Yeah. I don't think we're going to have a huge influx of inventory, but we're going to have, a spring influx. There's definitely going to be more houses coming on the market, but I do think inventory is still going to be tight throughout the year.
Yeah.
From what I'm hearing.
What the higher interest rates are really doing is, historically, interest rates are still low. And when you rent, your interest rate's 100%. I mean, I want to be very, very clear about that. So even if your rate's in the fours, okay, that is higher than it was 2 years ago or even last summer. But what a 2.5 or a 2.7 versus a 4.5 or a 4.25 or whatever the rates are exactly today, it decreases your buying power. So if you're, maybe a first-time home buyer or you're a little tighter on debt-to-income ratio, you might have been pre-approved for a $250,000 house before, and now because of the interest rate, you're approved for a $190,000 house. So that's been the biggest negative thing for me as a lender, Cassandra, is to have to go back to people and say, I'm sorry, I know you were pre-approved with this before, but because of interest rates going up, now this is your new pre-approval amount. So they have to redo their search. And a lot of times if you have to go down, it kind of bums you out a little bit. But you're probably not going to stay in your house forever. I know very few people that have been in the same house their whole life. I know the average is 7 years that you're going to be in a home. So the way homes are appreciating right now, I'm seeing 13 to 15% year after year. If you can swing it to go over on an ask to get a property that you really, really love, or if you have the extra funds, or if it happened to appraise out, it's still a good investment to buy a house because it's yours. You have ownership, you have equity, and that's the kind of stuff you need to really move forward in this market and just in life in general, Cassandra. So
and the longer you wait, the longer you're going to get, ahead in that, in the financial freedom route that everyone's trying to get. Because like you said, you're paying 100% interest rate when you're renting, and you're just going to keep doing that unless you pull the trigger.
There's times to rent. You're not sure how long you're going to be in an area. You just got out of college and, you take your first job and you're already nervous. There are great times to rent. But when you're settled in and you're like, hey, I'm going to be here for a while. I mean, nobody has a crystal ball. Nobody knows exactly what their future looks like. But there are times, and let's get you pre-approved. There's programs out there to have, the American dream, and that is to own a home. And that's what we help people do every single day. So it's fun. So
it is fun. It is fun.
I love talking to somebody. The most common thing I hear, Cassandra, is, hey, my real estate agent told me to call you, and I have no idea what I'm doing. And I'm like, perfect. I got you.
When they say that, I was like, you should call Jason.
No, there's a lot of good lenders out there. I'm not
there is, but
in the world. Talk to somebody that's honest. If you're working with your local bank and they're not getting back to you within 24 hours on an email or a phone call, they don't care about you. I don't care. I'll say that to anybody. Communication is everything, because it's one thing if your car's broke down, and you've heard me say this before, Cassandra, you can get an Uber or you can get a ride. But if you don't have a place to sleep at night, or where your dogs are going to sleep, or where your kids are going to sleep, that's stressful as hell. And when we have a loan that hits a snag or something at the end, it's very, very stressful. And you have moving trucks going, and a seller's buying and another place, and they got to sell this place to buy this place. And that's really the true stressful part of our job as a lender and as a real estate agent, because you get emotionally involved. I mean, I wear the emotions of my borrowers on my sleeves, and that's why I'm crazy half the time, because I really just want everything to go good for them and hustle to get it done. So
yes, but that's good, because then that person's going to work for you, because they're feeling it as well, which is important.
Picking a real estate agent, Cassandra, there's a lot of real estate agents. I mean, it's a very, very popular industry to be in, whether it's busy or whether it's not. What would you tell somebody that doesn't know Cassandra, maybe is watching this video, or they're watching this video on the other side of Wisconsin? What would you tell them they should be looking for in a real estate agent? Because to me, it's an interview process. I mean,
it really is.
Yeah. I mean, what should they be looking for in an agent?
Well, it is an interview process, like you said, and you're hiring this person on. So it's with each person, it's going to be a little bit different. Maybe you want someone who doesn't talk all the time, or maybe you want someone who talks all the time. So it really kind of depends. You want your personalities to match. So you want to be able to get along with them. You want to be able to tell them pretty much anything you can tell them when it comes to your finances or your personal situation, because they're the ones who are going to go out to bat for you. They're the ones who are going to make sure that you're in the right situation. So you want to be able to trust them, to confide in them. You want to look for someone who's not just looking to sell you a house. They really care about what you want. So they're listening. They're asking the questions. They're making sure that your needs are being heard, and then when they're showing you properties, they're not just showing you some random properties. It's evident that they are hearing out, this is what you need, this is what you're looking for. And they're actively looking for your properties. You don't really want them just to set you up on some drip campaign where you never hear from them. You want them to be active. You want them to be engaged with you, and you want them to be communicative. You want them to make sure they're explaining things to you thoroughly and responding to your text messages on time. If someone is not getting back to you by the end of the day and you're in the middle of buying a house, yeah, they're maybe not being on top of it like they should. So definitely read those signs in the beginning when you're going to meet with them, setting up your first showings. Read how it works between the two of you and see how transparent they are, because honestly, that's the biggest thing. You want someone who to tell you straight up.
Yep. No, and that's what I do with everybody.
Yeah.
And that's important to me too. And I stress that when you meet with your agent, tell them exactly what you're looking for. Don't be wishy-washy. If you're open-minded and your search is within 120 miles of your area, that's one thing. But otherwise, if you need 3 bedrooms and you need a 1-car garage or a 2-car garage, tell them that, and they will find you that. And or they'll continue to look for that until you find it. And that's what it's all about. So it makes it happen.
Yeah, exactly. And it's okay if you don't know. If you don't know, then that's something you guys can work on. But just say, I'm not sure. I have no idea. That makes a big difference. Absolutely.
I was getting a phone call from my branch manager, so I'm gonna text her quick.
Is branch manager near in Wisconsin in the cold?
We're rolling out some new construction stuff, and I had a couple questions about it. So,
is she in the cold Wisconsin?
She is. She lives in Marshfield.
Okay.
Yeah, she lives in Marshfield. So that's where all of our processors work out of, and that's kind of our little branch office. I kind of run out. I zoom all over the state in my car and say hi to everybody and smile and answer my phone. That's what I do.
Yeah.
So. I'm trying to think. If anybody has any questions, please type them into the comments. We got some hearts and some thumbs up, Cassandra, when you're talking.
That's good.
That's a good sign. No frowny faces. No frowny faces. So
it's kind of hard to frown when we have us on the screen, right?
Exactly.
All this energy.
We were joking before we went live. I said, do you want us to do this? And you're like, no. And then I said, well, we can do this. I can just put you up there, big, because I said you're better to look at than I am. So
I'm all fuzzy over here. Got some bad lighting in this bedroom.
Yeah. No, I like it.
But when I work from home, so I have to hide from my family, and I'm in the basement. Actually, my son's bedroom. I kicked him out.
Yeah, it happens. That's happened. You got good lighting.
It does happen, but I do love it.
We've talked about the home buying process. We've talked about interest rates. We've talked about real estate agents. What else have we not talked about, Cassandra, tonight?
Well, I guess this is like the after process, after if you get an offer accepted. Should we go that far?
Yeah, we can. We can kind of go through the steps. So
after you get an offer accepted, your agent is gonna go through and they are going to make sure all of those dates that you have agreed on are followed. So, a good agent's going to put those dates in their calendar, and we'll follow up and make sure an inspection is scheduled. Make sure, we're working with your lender that an appraisal has been, scheduled. Of course, with a good mortgage lender, they're going to do everything they need to do. They're going to be on top of it. But as a realtor, you don't want to just set it and forget it. You need to follow through and make sure that, the mortgage lender does have the appraisal order, that they're on top with time. Other things you're going to do like radon testing or well and water testing. And then once these tests come back, that you're kind of at like another sort of negotiation table, because you're going to look at what the results are from those tests and you're going to decide if you still want to move forward. So that's the one thing about the home buying process that, is kind of liberating. You're not stuck just because an offer was accepted. You get an opportunity to really dig into the house, see what's what might need fixing or repairs. And you could walk away, or you could go back to the seller and the listing agent. Well, your agent would go back to the listing agent and say, hey, there's some bad wiring and my buyer would like your seller to pay for that. So, agent to agent, we negotiate these things. And that's something that's really important when you have an agent working for you, because they're able to do that. They know that you can negotiate that. They know you have the opportunity to walk away. So that's a big thing that I don't want people to miss out on.
Right.
But
they're there to protect you. That's what the agent does. On the lending side, once we have the accepted offer, we don't as a lender, we don't care about the home inspection. That's between the buyer and the seller to be comfortable that the house is what it is. Because the home inspection is more than just the eyesight. It's actually digging in a little bit. Somebody's really checking the foundation and the roof and the appliances and the wiring and stuff like that. So but we
Mhm.
don't get involved in that. We require an appraisal for a mortgage because we have to know that the value of that home is good. You want an appraisal done from a third party that we don't pick. We have an appraisal management company. It has no skin in the game. They have to prove that that house is worth what they say it is based upon 4 comparable comps, on a similar property in a similar neighborhood in that area, so that you're
Yep.
not overpaying for that home. Because that's what
Yep.
got us. That's what got the whole market into trouble last time was
Yeah.
overinflation of price. So when people hear, oh, this house went $10,000 over, this house went $20,000 over, if it did not appraise, the buyer has to bring those extra funds to close. They're not letting us go over 100% loan to value. So we're
Yeah.
not going to have some bubble.
Yeah.
We're not lending more on these houses than what they're worth. People might be paying more than what they appraise for, but that's their choice if they have the cash
Yeah.
to do that. As lenders, the whole lending industry, we're not going down that path again to create a mess, if you will, down the road. So
Yeah. I'm glad that you brought that up because that was another thing too. A lot of people are asking with these high home prices, like, is it even appraising? And they're worried about a bubble, but that's exactly right. If it is above that price where an appraiser comes in and they're like, oh, you offered 250, but it only came up as 235, then yeah, the buyer needs to come up with those extra funds. And so,
yeah, I
yes,
mean,
it's not creating a bubble.
yeah, you can go to the seller and say, hey, your house appraised for 235, and then the seller can say, well, I don't care. You offered me 250, pay me 250.
Mhm.
So at that time, the contract can be null and void. The seller can cancel it because we didn't hit appraisal contingency, and then the lender's not going to lend on it, and they can move on. Or, and you're more likely to see that, I think, in this market because there's usually a backup offer on stuff right now. But every one of them is different. And I'm not a realtor, and I'm not going to pretend I am, but I do talk to realtors every day. So obviously I have some, sentiment.
You have some knowledge, good knowledge.
Right. So I'm not fancy licensed or anything like Cassandra and all the real estate agents.
Fancy. I'm fancy dual license now.
Woo! Metro Minnesota, eh?
Yep, Minnesota, eh?
Yep.
Yes, exactly. And there are a lot of sellers that will say, okay, because they know that the appraisal just came back and it's low. So they know they might be stuck in that situation again. So we are finding sellers also saying, okay, well, we'll accept the 235. But
well, that's the thing, which is
depends.
that's a negotiation process.
Yep.
And I think everybody needs to know what they're getting into up front. And I try to explain that to everybody the best I can. If you do write over, here's where you are. If you have a 0 down loan and you don't have a lot of money put away, you shouldn't be writing over. Unless that real estate agent is just absolutely confident that we can comp it out. Then I leave it up to them. So
yeah,
that's what we do.
And you do find some houses. I mean, if you're willing to put in some work, you'll find some houses that are, lower that you can make an offer for maybe a little bit more. You can get into it at a lower price value and do some rehab work. So that's something I really love doing, of course. The rehab investment world, which is a whole nother conversation.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Well, I mean, but it's a popular conversation because of all the TV shows, Discovery Channel and all those, there's that one couple in Waco, Texas, is it? I think.
Yeah, I don't know their names.
I don't even know what their names are, but I have friends who they live by it. So they watch it all the time. So
yep. I mean, it's inspiration, that's for sure.
So we're coming up on 30 minutes. I need to go to my daughter's choir concert.
Okay. Sounds fun.
That was a fast 30 minutes, by the way. You're easy.
Yeah, it was.
So I guess what advice would you give somebody if they want to buy a house in the next couple of years? What would you just give us the 30-second rundown?
Okay, so if you want to buy a house in the next 30 years, I think you just need to get on the phone with the realtor, get on the phone with the mortgage lender and just find out where you are. Find out where you sit. A realtor can help you without, we're not going to pull your credit or anything, but we can talk to you about, whether it's practical or not. And then the lender can do a pull on your credit and give you a nice solid idea of what's going on, but just don't be afraid of it. I know it sounds intimidating, but without the conversation, you won't know. And in 5 years will pass and you're not going to ever make the move. So I think just don't be afraid, make the call, reach out on Facebook, Messenger, text, whatever it is.
Quit wondering. Quit
wondering.
Just find out.
I like that.
Just find out. Quit wondering. Well, Cassandra, thank you for your time tonight. If any of you enjoyed Cassandra and Jason live, we can do this every Monday night if you want us to. So
yeah, we can. It'll get more interesting.
Get some sponsors and big fancy TV cameras. Cassandra. So
Better, so it's not so grainy.
it's all good. It's all good. Well, thank you for your time, Cassandra. Have a
Yes,
great night.
thank you, Jason.
Take care.
You too. Talk to you later.
Bye-bye.
Bye.